get things rolling. Thank you so much for doing this today. I really do appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the show. It's such a great series. It was surprising. I saw the commercial and I was like, that looks good. And then when you watch it, there's so much more to it. And it's just a joy though when you hear the theme song. I'm already in a good mood, and every episode has landed just so well. So congrats on that. As I was saying, where did your career path begin on the road to entertainment? Like, how did that all start for you?
Sure. So when I was younger, my original dream as a kid was I wanted to be a professional tennis player. And so I was like a competitor in the USTA juniors. And that around like age 14, age 15, I sort of, the easiest way to describe it is I had like a mental breakdown. I was like, I can't do this. And up until that point, I'd always been interested in like film and television and specifically theater as well. And so, I left my career as a tennis player behind for something, super stable, like a career in entertainment. I started, I started doing the shows. I did like community theater, and I became like very involved in my high school drama program. I ended up like running our drama club in high school. And I ran it like I was like a teenage Scott Rudin. Like I was so intense about it. It was like absolutely insane. Like trying to sell season tickets to the high school shows, like trying to get the New York Times to review us. It was absolutely, I was out of my mind. But then I just knew that I grew up in Maryland. And so I knew that I really, really cared about this and I really wanted to learn. So I knew I had to get to New York City. And so I went and studied at a conservatory program for a couple of years. And then after I graduated out of that, I didn't really know exactly how to implement everything that I wanted to do to like really get my career going. And while this was happening, I was also really learning to write and screenwrite specifically because I had seen Good Will Hunting when I was, in middle school and was like, what? Those guys aren't that much older than me. I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so those two things were simultaneously happening, and they really converged for me, writing and performing at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York City. And I started performing there, doing shows after shows after shows in the basement of a grocery store in New York City. And as I kept doing that, I started meeting more and more people that really loved doing what I do, and developed friendships that, I still have, obviously to this day, really, really, really wonderful friendships. And we, really kind of supported each other in a lot of ways. And that collaborative spirit really sort of got into what we all wanted to do. And we all started going off on our own paths. And thankfully, putting up show after show after show in New York, sometimes people will see it that you want to see it, and kind of led from there.
And how did that lead to Ghosts?
Yeah, getting all the way up through Ghosts. Well, so I had been auditioning. I was like a working actor and a working writer, and I had ended up booking this show on The Good Place, booking this character on The Good Place, and with one of my best friends, Darcy Carden, who plays Janet, who I met at the Upright Citizens Brigade. So that was like a dream come true. And I was finally out here in Los Angeles. That's what kind of brought me out here. And when you're sort of in LA, and this is pre-pandemic, just like being here gives you a few more avenues or a few more opportunities to audition where maybe they would stop the casting process in LA before we get to New York. And so I think I was in the mix for a couple different projects that pilot season, and I auditioned for this one, and Tanis Villeli and Liz Barnes, our casting directors, were really kind enough to keep bringing me back in for the showrunners, and that's sort of how we landed at Ghosts.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and you've such great comic timing and delivery. Did you have comedic inspirations or idols as you grew up?
Yes, 100%. And like the first name that comes to mind is Madeline Kahn. She was my absolute, my whole family was big Mel Brooks fans. And so Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, History of the World, all of that were so present in my household growing up. And Madeline Kahn is so funny in all of those movies that I just sort of fell in love with her. And then she was such a wonderful theater actor as well, an incredible singer. And she just really was such an inspiration. And I would say her and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were the ones that really, whenever I would watch their performances, I would feel something inside where I was like, this is as good as it possibly can be. Like, there's not, you know, like also like Whoopi Goldberg too. Like, these are as funny of a performance as you could possibly give. And I just was always, I was like, if I could ever be 1/1000th of what they can give, then I would be happy.
Two powerhouses there.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and then, you know, and one day, you know, or maybe you already are inspiring the next generation of comedic actors or actors in general, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's
It's
really
got to
sweet.
be a, you know, kind of, you know, don't mean to put any pressure on you, but don't screw up.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You have such amazing writing on the show. It's got to be a real blessing. And going back to The Good Place, which is another show that was just so, and I'm probably going to use it poorly, but smartly written.
Yes.
And
I think that's the
great
best way
world
to describe
building,
it.
great characters. And with this show, you have all the innuendos that are just like rapid fire at times. What's it like working with such, you know, such great writers?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, definitely. I've been super lucky with the shows that I've gotten a chance to be on networks with, because the writing has been so awesome. Good Place, you know, Mike Schur, top down, that whole writing staff was, I had no idea how incredibly, I mean, as a writer myself, like I can understand how difficult it is, but at the same time, like the way they handled such high concepts and such complicated, you know, philosophical ideas and incorporated it into like such a digestible but really funny and very emotional show was really something special to watch. And what I love about this one is I think it's still dealing with this like really large high concept of life and death, right? Like what happens to you when you die? And I feel like they are able to tell these grounded stories with this insane cast of characters. You know, where like a Viking is talking to a hippie, and you're sort of like, oh wait, hopefully finding this very like grounded, very recognizable storyline, which I think is like so cool. And like, yeah, the writing staff has been so fun. I don't envy them because they have 10 characters that they have to service each episode. And that's a lot of characters for 21 and a half minutes, but they do a really great job. And I think the thing that jumped out to me when I got the script, the pilot script, was how much this reminded me of, speaking of Madeline Kahn, Clue, one of my favorite movies. And it was like a bunch of crazy people running around a house together, kind of unable to leave. And I just think that screwball comedy aspect of it is a much needed thing right now. And they do a really great job of juxtaposing that with this like lovely heart that allows these characters to come to life. And hopefully, you kind of like love a Wall Street bro in a way that you might not love a Wall Street bro. Deal.
Yeah, I was going to mention that that how it's also very touching at times, and there's like this incredible heart to it, which surprised me, because going in I expected just a comedy about ghosts, and I thought, you know, kind of fish out of water, but it's so much more than that. And you know, it's just incredible to watch and really impressive. I always admire the work, just like The Good Place as well, where you're like, wow, like how they blew this up and this world they built and the rules and everything else associated with it. But at the same time, you're connecting with these characters on a very human level. So it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's tricky, right? Like when you have characters specifically like this show, where like they can't leave. Like they have to wear the same thing. They can't pick anything up. They can't go anywhere outside of the house really, except for the grounds. And so like, how do you try to like deepen those relationships? And I think the writing staff is doing such a really great job. And I think you do that through those like, hopefully those more emotional, vulnerable moments.
So with your comedy background, do you improv any, or is it everything on script? Or
you know, I again, like I'm lucky enough that the writing, I mean, like our writers are so good that usually 90% of what you're seeing on screen was on the page to begin with. So we will improvise. And what's so lovely is that our set is open to that. The directors, the producers, every single person in that room when we're filming a scene is open to the concept of discovering something new. And I think we'll throw things out there and sometimes they'll make it. Especially in that first season, you're still playing, right? You're still trying to figure out who your character is and how your character fits in within the larger group. And that's as an improv comedian, that is such a skill that you do like learn and try to hone, which is like, what's your voice within the larger ensemble? And I think we're all really keen on trying to figure that out. So hopefully, you know, on a great day, we're giving each other that room to play, that even if it doesn't make it on the screen, we may have discovered something as performers, or maybe we gave an idea to the writers that they didn't see before that they can use down the road. And so more than just like kind of saying something funny, we kind of feel like improv is like this really valuable tool that we all get to use to really help, you know, deepen what's already there.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it being valuable, where especially with so many characters, and each of the actors, I'm sure, takes them very seriously and kind of knows who they are and embraces that. So to have them kind of explore the character a little bit probably is beneficial to the writers to like get that perspective, you know, especially in a show about perspectives. It's all, you know, you got people from all different timelines, all different, you know, everything. So it's yeah,
it's really
I'm sure
cool.
it's very valuable.
Yeah, it's really cool to see like kind of like the process that everybody sort of brings to it, you know, and like what research maybe one person has done and what instincts some other person may have. And, you know, when you have like an environment that's like that, it's absolutely like the best thing that you can have when you're an actor. Like you just feel so safe, you feel so excited to keep exploring. And, you know, there's days where they're like, all right, we gotta move, but at the same time, you know, we hope that even off screen, when we're sort of like in our little holding areas, we're still sort of trying to explore and find those moments. And it's really cool to see other people working on that, and it's just so fun.
So Isaac's sexuality and romance is a big part of the character in season one. It's often played for laughs, and it seemed like it was always going to be played for laughs. And then they introduced the love interest, and suddenly it's a much more depth and much more complexity. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. It was really interesting. Like, it's funny when you get offered to play a character like Isaac, like a 250-year-old dead Revolutionary War soldier, like the connection bell doesn't really go off right away. But I will say that you know, one of the things that I noticed was that this is a guy that's, you know, clearly gay and true, like, or clearly queer and trying to come out of the closet, or trying to stay in the closet, I should say. And then this event happens where suddenly somebody can see him from the real world, and that's going to throw him out. And I was like, oh, that's where we can really I can find that personal in. And it definitely did seem like it was being played for laughs. And again, this is where that collaboration comes in. A credit to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, who was who are our showrunners. Like, I went to them and I just wanted to check in, and I said, like, hey, I know that this is, you know, this is funny, and like that there's elements of this that are fun to play with, but do we see this going anywhere? And they were like, yeah. And they really like gave me that trust that they were going to pay it off in some way. And I think that by the time we finally meet that love interest, I felt a whole new level of connection to playing Isaac, because I remember those feelings. I remember seeing somebody that you were attracted to, that you didn't feel like you could be. And I was very lucky that like midway through the season, I got that jolt that gave me that little extra layer from the writing staff and their producers to really start playing with it. And it was really cathartic in a lot of ways to sort of kind of, you know, almost like on steroids play this character who went through something that I went through when I was younger.
And I don't know if you want to talk about this already, because it just happened last week, but the finale, can you talk about the big moment, or is that off?
Sure. I can talk about yeah.
Because I liked it. Let me say that.
Oh, you did? Oh, awesome. Yes. You know what's so funny?
I'm specifically choosing the word like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. That was okay. So, all right, wait. So here's kind of something interesting. That scene that we had on the screen ended up, was a little bit different than what was originally written. The original ending was a little bit more large and grand, and like there was a kiss and there was a proclamation of love, and then Isaac suddenly screams that he has a boyfriend. And again, another one of those elements where I felt like I could bring something to this character. I went to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, and I after reading it, and I said, you know, I love that this is where we want it to end, but I'm wondering if we can maybe like adjust this a little bit to like really feel like to really honor the idea that being in the closet and then coming out of the closet, it's not just a light switch. It is this long, gradual process of not just feeling accepted by others, but feeling the acceptance within yourself. And I said, I hope you know that from like an ego standpoint, I'm actually asking for like less of a moment. I'm not asking for more of a moment. And I just felt like it would be really, 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 hopefully satisfying to see Isaac just finally admit that he has feelings for another person and those feelings are genuine. And to their credit, they really came back and they said, oh, they were really interested in collaborating on that moment. And I think we landed on something that we were really, really moved and excited by. And to hear that you enjoyed it, that means the world.
Yeah, I think in this case, less is definitely more. I thought it was a beautiful moment, and the understatedness of it let you just walk away and just, I don't know, it's a hopeful moment, and it doesn't have to spell it out for you. You're just kind of seeing this great step in this character's life, and this ability to, he kind of had that 1 foot in the closet and 1 foot out, and now it's like, that's it. He finally took his final step.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just, again, like, this might have been that thing where, like, when you're, performing for 18 episodes as a character, you start to, really, like, I don't know, just like feel a sense of ownership just as much as every other person on the crew feels that sense of ownership. And there was that moment where I was just like, I remember this feeling in my own life, like just like coming out to a barista that I didn't know, just being like, I'm Bay, and sort of that person being taken back. But that was the biggest step, just saying that little thing. So I felt like, okay, after 250 years, what is it going to be? And I think I think that they came back with this really lovely scene. I'm really, really, really grateful that you said that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing it. It was really, it's wonderful. And in TVs and entertainment in general is like the great empathy machine if used properly. Why is it important to have shows like Ghosts out there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think like the two things that just like immediately come to my brain, which is that one, it's about intergenerational empathy. I think I know it's a 21.5-minute comedy about a bunch of dead people in a house that's trying to become a bed and breakfast. But I also know that, like, I think at its core, it's this idea where, oh, we see somebody like Sosapis, played by Roman, and he's going through something with his dad in an episode that feels so recognizable, and it feels recognizable to people now. And we can really understand that there's these stories that maybe feel so like close and present and right now, but they've been going on for a long, long time. And I think there's a comfort in that. And I think that there's a real sense of catharsis in watching, a Viking trying to ask out a hippie, somebody who has who has just like, again, like no real like nuance to him. He's just this big brute trying to ask out this free spirit. And I think there's a lot of ways you can recognize like the impossible hump that it must be to like just ask anybody out sometime. And I think the other thing too is that it's silly. It's like funny, and it's one thing that we've been really nice, like are the people who watch the show, a lot of them tweet about it, and they're so wonderful and they're so kind on the internet, which is insane. I know it's like nobody's ever been kind on the internet before, but for some reason, the people who watch the show are. And they just talk about how they're able to watch the show with their families and laugh together. And I think after a really stressful past couple of years that we're hopefully on the other side of, it's a nice thing to really be able to connect with other people. And I love what you said too, which is like, it's a great empathy machine. And I think that's hopefully what we're trying to get at here.
Fingers crossed about being on the other side. It'd be wonderful to see like the worst behind us. Time is up. I do have to wrap up. I'll just finish with a really quick question. Do you have 3 words to describe Captain Isaac? Here we go. Do you have 3 words to describe Captain? Oh my gosh. I knew this was going to happen. Do you have 3 words to describe Isaac?
3 words to describe Isaac. Still very important. I wish there was like that's my little phrase. Still very important. Or better, not to quote Hamilton, but just you wait.
Oh, I can't wait. Fantastic. I'm excited. How long till season 2? I don't know, but I'm I'll be waiting, and I'll be watching on premiere day. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time, and thank you for your fine work in the show. I'm sure it's inspiring and entertaining millions of people.
Thank you so much. Truly, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. This was awesome. It was so nice.
I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.